Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Alex the Explainer. In today's video, it is once again another Shark Week special. Yes, this Shark Week special will be about a battle. One that has lasted for 66 million years. A battle between the sharks and the mammals. For starters, mammals and sharks have qualities that are both similar and also dissimilar. Mammals are warm-blooded. However, the sharks, with the exception of ones like the great white, are actually cold-blooded, and they both can form complex groups. Many examples for mammals include packs of wolves, pods of dolphins, and prides of lions. Some of the more notable examples of complex groups among mammals are the very complex societies and civilizations of humans, and the complex and matriarchal herds of elephants. Elephants, and other actually extinct species of proboscideans, have a matriarchal type of herd, where the herds consist of females and young elephants. However, the adult males are actually pushed out of the herd in order to find a mate. The herds are a source of essentially protection, strength in numbers, while the males, the rogue males, are kind of a source of essentially reproduction. Sharks can also have types of groups. Unlike herd-like groups, sharks have a sort of pack-like behavior, similar to wolves. Blacktip reef sharks are very well known for being pack hunters, squeezing through the coral and searching for prey, like fish. Both sharks and mammals have their lineages actually begin before the age of dinosaurs, the Mesozoic. However, the sharks and the mammals weren't actually dominant over the earth, because the reptiles were. Like the dinosaurs, the marine reptiles, and the flying reptiles, the pterosaurs. However, after a lot of those reptiles, like the non-avian dinosaurs and the marine and flying reptiles, went extinct, it was a new age, an age of the mammals, and there was nothing to eat the sharks. Sharks became dominant over the sea, and since there was no competition other than terror birds, the mammals took over and became dominant over the land. The new geological era, the Cenozoic era after the Mesozoic and Paleozoic eras, was the time of the mammals. However, the beginning of the Paleozoic era, the Paleocene and Eocene epochs, actually was pretty interesting because it had climates similar to the Mesozoic, where it was actually warmer and wetter than it was during the Cretaceous. This creates a pretty interesting scenario where a lot of the mammals actually evolved and adapted to essentially hippo-like lifestyles. There's Moratherium, the first proboscidean, which would have actually given rise much later to the elephants. And there was many other groups, like Pakicetus, which eventually evolved to become the whales, like Basilosaurus. There were even early relatives of seals and manatees. However, in the waters, sharks also lurked, and they commonly preyed upon these very early mammals. However, the previously mentioned whale Basilosaurus actually hunted these sharks and became top of the food chain. This is where the battle between the sharks and the mammals officially began. Millions of years later, in the Miocene epoch, the climate became a lot cooler and a lot drier. This is where the elephants grew in size to become large creatures like the Dinotheres and the Gomphotheres. Similarly, whales became a lot larger and focused on filter feeding. This is also where Otodus megalodon evolved and came on the scene to hunt these massive baleen or filter feeding whales. A very famous image depicts a Gomphothere, a type of prehistoric proboscidean or prehistoric elephant, trying to swim away from a megalodon lurking below. Even today, the battle between mammals and sharks is still going on. Great whites and mako sharks commonly prey upon seals, and the orcas, the killer whales, commonly prey upon great white sharks and other sharks. However, something very unfortunate could happen. The mammals could win this battle against the sharks, but in a very unfortunate way. Humans kill a lot of sharks every year, whether by finning them for shark fin soup or accidentally killing them when they reel them up in fishing nets. It is actually approximately around 100 million sharks being killed each year. This is a major problem, and there are many efforts in order to stop it. These conservation efforts include scientists tagging these sharks and putting laws into place against the killing of these sharks. However, the killing of sharks still takes place, and if this problem isn't handled correctly, maybe even in the near future, we could lose the sharks entirely. And so everyone, goodbye. And we'll see you there on another episode of Alex the Explainer.